The following segment was videotaped at the Chamber of Commerce October 7th Business Breakfast. City Manager David Green outlined the state of the city. He also compared Winter Haven of 2000 to Winter Haven 2009. We hope you will enjoy it.
Exciting after a relatively short night's sleep and getting out and speaking to folks at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate you all showing up for me, and I'm going to do my best to move us along, and because I know everyone just really wants to get out of here and get right back to the office, taking care of business, shall we say. One of the problems that I'm going to have this morning very clearly as I look around the room, there are too many people that I've worked with and they know too much about what we're doing. And so I'll have to be really careful with my auditors here, or our auditors, independent auditors, of course. So again, Jay, I'll use everything I say about 2009 is unaudited financial. Okay, just to be sure. And then we'll have all the disclaimers added on along the way as well. What we want to do this morning, first and foremost, is kind of take a walk down memory lane, or glory days, those days gone by, and refer back a little bit to the last century, basically, and that kind of helps set the stage, or the foundation, lays the groundwork, if you will, for where we find ourselves today. All right, basically, City of Winter Haven, as you well know, back in late 1990s, early 2000s, we did have an election, and during that time period, ironically, Mike Easterling and Yvonne Brooks were the new commissioners elected in 2000. They took the place of a couple of commissioners that chose not to run, and perhaps some of the backdrop of why they may or may not have chosen to run. You may remember that the City of Winter Haven made a very large purchase around the turn of the century, the Garden Grove utility system. It was a very controversial purchase. It was from a business point of view, in these days and times, it was probably one of the best decisions that the city could have ever made, all things considered. And I don't think the city could have ever really paid too much for the system, because it sets the stage today for what the city is doing and has been able to accomplish over the years with annexations, revenue base expansion, and all of those kinds of things. So first and foremost, having just kind of said that, and recognizing that on October 26th, I'm going to have a very, I guess, dubious distinction on the one hand from a CEO, city manager viewpoint, and that is I will have a city commission on that date that was not in any way, shape, or form part of hiring me as city manager. So it's going to be a new experience, I think, for me and them as well, and hopefully all of this will end up having a very positive ending as well as a positive beginning. But when we flash back to the city in that 2000 time period, and last century, this is a little test to make sure we're all awake and get in a little bit of exercise and those kinds of things by raising our hands or speaking out. Who among us was actually a Winter Haven resident or was in the area back in 1999, 2000 time period? All right, almost everybody. Very good. How many actually live in the city limits of Winter Haven? Oh, very good. Usually when I'm out giving my speeches, the numbers are a little bit reversed, so this is a very good group for us this morning. One last thing, does everyone actually work in the city at this point? Office or has a business? Super. All right, then you really do very much are a part of where we are. What do you remember about the 99-2000 period in particular? One of the things that comes to my mind was the YK 2000 stuff, and how all of our computers were going to crash, and the world was going to come to an end. And if I remember correctly, some people were buying supplies of food and moving off into caves and hiding out. And if I do remember that correctly, and I think that is the way it was, you remember some of the things that Winter Haven was like back then? Certainly what we have on slide over here, or up here now, right?
Yeah.
Up here, what we used to have over here earlier, pretty much depicts a lot of what we would remember or see in Winter Haven during that time period. Do you remember some of the businesses? The Winter Haven Mall is now the city center. Denny's and Tire Kingdom are now where we're putting the new fire station project that will be about a 19,000 square foot building, state-of-the-art, LEED certified gold standard. Remember downtown in particular? I think when we remember downtown Winter Haven, basically it was a little bit shabby, a little bit worn. We spent, as the critics of the city say, tons and tons and tons of money redoing downtown. Why in the world would we do that? Very simply, downtown is where it all began. It's the heart and soul of the city of Winter Haven and most other communities, so it warrants the investment. We heard a lot of noise about the Hill building coming down this morning. If you drive by, I think it actually looks better than the old Hill building that was not historically correct and hadn't been for about 50 years. And you'll notice some parking spaces there that assist the businesses along 3rd Street and Avenue A. So I think that for now, it's a transition phase till the economy comes back our way and helps us move forward with a business paying taxes in that particular area. Remember some of the restaurants that we had back then. Certainly we had Christie's, it's going to reopen again in a new format. We had Shell's, that's now Fred's. We didn't have a Longhorn, we didn't have Carrabba's, and didn't have Crispers, but we did have Morrison's Cafeteria. So when we look around the city, we also might remember that the entranceway into Winter Haven on Cypress Gardens Boulevard around that late last century was pretty much a 2-lane road, the last portion of the way around the lakes until you get basically to what we have now is the redeveloped Publix Plaza. Southgate, Northgate has been revitalized as well. And I think the point is the city is a work in progress always, just like each and every one of us. That's what we are. We change, we adapt, we adjust, we take advantage of opportunities, and hopefully we get it right. Well, I'm here to tell you at City Hall we don't always get it right, but we're always trying to get it right. That's the goal. You will never hear us trying to pass the buck or anything else. If we really screw up and are sure we did, we'll tell you. And we often have to do that, unfortunately. But back to that 2000 time period again, when you look at the snapshot of our community, what was going on in Florida, we've seen a lot of change during that period of time. And I guess some questions I might ask you for those that may remember what was on the slides. Do you recall what the city's population was in 2000?
24,000.
You're close.
26.
Who said 26? I heard, yeah, the accountant guy. Very good. That was a compliment. It was actually 26,487. And
He knew that. He knew that.
Did he? That was pretty good. I think I'll need to go to him if he can keep me out of trouble with my uncle.
I'm looking at the slides where they're previewing them before. So
You're going to be my test today, aren't you? I better watch out. The 2009 population is 34,464, so that's roughly a 30 to 35% increase during that period of time. Taking a look at City of Winter Haven, back in 2000, the city had 488 city employees back then. Anybody want to make a guess on what we have today? The new budget? It's a number that most governments wouldn't be comfortable giving out. We are. 475. So we actually have grown by roughly 35% in population. We've grown substantially. We've doubled the size of the city for all practical purposes in square mileage. And we're operating with 13 less employees now than we had then. So, and right now the city of Winter Haven is about 40 square miles in size. About 8 of those square miles are comprised of lakes. And so when you look at the population, the size of the city, the square mileage, and the responsibilities, then we really are trying to do more with less.